Good afternoon, bookworms and flyleafs. Welcome back to this week's episode of Author Reads here on Fae Productions. I am your host, Fairy Princess Lolly, and today I am here with author Benjamin Kissell. And I said it right? Like kiss and tell, Kissell. Yeah, I remembered. Okay, so before I jump into all of the things today, I just want to say first, please, if you will, like, subscribe, and pounce the bell, which if you are one of our Patreon patrons, you will understand why we are pouncing the bell today, because there's going to be awesome little benefits for you after the show that are going to be published there on our Patreon. And also I want to give a shout out to today's sponsor, Platyfly Studios. And Platyfly Studios sells fantasy-inspired clothing and accessories, all handcrafted by Kat Hawthorne in Indianapolis, Indiana. Check out her 2021 summer collection in her Etsy store, which features an assortment of gorgeous, breezy skirts, many of which have pockets for pocket equity. She also carries a variety of accessories, including mermaid gloves, dragon scale, dice bags, and jewelry. Everything is designed with the discerning pixie in mind, with waistband sizing that ranges from 35 to 70. You can also follow her on Facebook and Instagram for information on future sales and more. Her information, of course, is there in the ticker, there in the ticker, and also in the low bar, wherever you guys are watching from. So please check her out. She's actually been on our show here before for Handmade Home Shopping as well. And so very nice lady. And with all of that said, then welcome to today's returning author, Benjamin Kissell. Welcome. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm here. My hair is big.
Yes. You almost have the 1700s, like the French bourgeoisie, like huge, courtly thing going on, and I love it.
Live for it. The bigger the hair, the further everybody has to stay away from you.
That's true. Also, those hoop skirts, right? I love this.
Yes.
And I saw you posted a picture. I know this has nothing to do with your book, or maybe it does, and I just don't know it. But I saw you posted a picture, too, on your Twitter of these cool arm sleeve things, and I can see them there. What is going on with those? Yes!
Cosplay fabric. I may have gotten it from a little craft store named Miss Joanne. And I thought, you know what? Be a little fabulous. Be a little chivalrous.
I love it. I would wear that. I would basically wear everything you're wearing. You have hydrangeas in your hair, and I love hydrangeas and all of the stuff and things. So,
oh yes, thank you.
Well, you are most welcome, and hello everybody out there in the audience. I see all of you guys, Melissa, Flora, Gunther. I see all of you guys. Welcome, Benjamin. If you will, please. I know that you've been here before, but for those who are new viewers, please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
My name is Benjamin Kissell. I am a award-winning loaf about house. I am a domestic failure. I clean occasionally. You know, that one time I vacuumed, the cats ran. It was okay. I am a really, 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 really gay guy who loves to write about fairies and drag queens. And honestly, what's better than writing about fairies or drag queens? Throw them together. In 2012, for a short story collection anthology, I wrote a retelling of Tam Lin centered in a drag club. It went nowhere. The bad guy was a bad guy. And she sat in my head for years, and boom, bitches back. With with the explosion of RuPaul everywhere and drag just permeating the ether, it felt like a good time to bring her back. And since she did not stay silent in my head, she had stories to tell. She got her own first novel, A Queen of Blood and Glitter. And then she's dragged me down for 2 more little novellas. And then she's going to have another one. And then she's going to have... Bitch likes to talk, and I apparently have to tell her story.
You know, that is actually how it often works when it comes to the fairy muses, right? They have something to say, whether or not you're tired or your hand has cramps. It doesn't matter. Okay, so tell us a little bit what these stories are about. Because you've just published your 2 new little novellas here.
Yes.
It's been almost a year, actually. Can you believe
Mm-hmm.
that? Since you were last year, it's been almost a year. We're just a few weeks off. And so in that time, you've published these 2 little novellas that are
Mm-hmm.
supplements to the, 600 plus page novel, your
Yeah,
first one. Yes. So tell us a little bit about those, if you will.
of course, my pleasure. So the first volume is a collection, is not really a collection, it's a collection of mini adventures that came together. And what really the world of Misnomer, because I love a pun, Bloodoweth the Misnomer, the fairy drag
No
queen.
wonder you fit in here.
Right? A pun? Me? What is this? A day ending in Y?
Yes.
So Misnomer, the Lady Ophelia, DJ Fuck, PHUC, PHUC, there is no profanity.
That's actually a
They,
real place. Did you know that?
yes. So I nerded out the first day that I came. I'm like, no, I can't make this pun. I can't. Yes!
But I can.
Right? It's so great when you get to do that kind of stuff. So in the world of Carterburg, Virginia, fairies are normal-ish, but
Hmm.
they just stuff keeps happening. So in Asma, this first novella, Between the Forest and the Stars, picks up about 2 weeks after the events of A Queen of Blood and Glitter, and so the newly formed Court of Blood and Glitter has to start making some new things. So what else do? You go on a road trip. Grab your 2 best friends, get in the car, drive through the snow, you go on a road trip. Just to do. Just to do. It's Tu Wong Fu meets monsters. Then as my world falls
I'm
down.
like, did you just say what I think you just
Yes, I
said?
did.
I'm pretty sure you did.
I did. I purposely homage it. There's actually even a line referencing Babe Pig in the City because of it. The classic line, "That'll do, pig, that'll do." It's "That'll do, bitch, that'll do." Because it takes nothing but 3 queens or 3 fairies. Sorry, hiccuped. In As My World Falls Down, I wanted to play with, okay, so Circe, everybody's favorite feline fairy detective, and Ms. Nomer haven't really had much more than about a passing conversation at this point. They're
Hmm.
friends-ish, but
Ish.
they're
As
everybody's
much as
favorite.
felines can be friends with anyone.
With a towering, skinny, really acerbic, bitchy drag queen fairy. I mean, totally, they're gonna. Um, but so I was like, okay, so let's have an adventure for the 2 of them. And throw everybody else in. So it started off as just this quick little jewel heist gone wrong. We have to solve it. So, hey, I'm going to turn to my new friend to, oh, there's some dark stuff that happened back in Carterburg. And Nomer, being the drama queen that she is, loves to insinuate herself into it. So she pulls herself into the case more. It started off as she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I'll answer a question. Sure." To honey, honey, full Trixie voice. I mean, it's the scene is actually in the Smithsonian, the Natural History Museum. She doesn't quite say "oh honey," but she just literally she's standing there. It's the honey, honey, Miss Vanjie, Miss Vanjie. The full rigmarole. Not quite
Now,
rigmaroles.
today, are you representing somebody within one of your books? Or is this your own fabulous getup for what you would look like if you were in the court thereof?
This is an homage because I wanted to give a love letter visually speaking, give a little love
Mm-hmm.
letter to both books. So, As My World Falls Down is a much visually darker book, at least on the cover. Inside, I mean, it's more depressing, but what gay drama. Drama kablama kaflama tadama, fairies, gays, we love the drama. We live for the drama. Then in Between the Forest and the Stars, it's the cover is this beautiful, bright, icy blue. Because both of them are set in the late weeks of January and February. So it's like, oh, Virginia, Yeah, we know her. She's a little cold. So, the Frosty.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to give a little height and a little volume. So, there's some irises, some
Oh yeah, I
carnations,
see them. They're beautiful.
some
Did you paint them?
chrysanthemums. Yeah,
Oh wow,
I'd say
that
Party City wig.
you are
Get you a Party City
multi-talented.
wig and hot glue a bunch of stuff in it.
That yeah, hot glue is my friend too.
My God, yes. I'm literally kicking a hot glue gun away from my foot right now.
And so, today we're going to hear a little bit from each of your two new novellas. Is that correct?
Yes, if you are okay with that, I'm okay with that.
I am perfectly okay with that. In fact, I like that idea. A little bit of sneak,
Oh yeah.
whoop, inside. So, uh, I guess with that said, I'm ready to turn the camera over to you and let you get on with the reading. And for everybody watching at home, what's going to happen here is I'm going to give Benjamin the whole screen, and he is going to read to us from a couple excerpts from his two new books. While he's reading, I'll be on mute in the comments, talking to you guys, taking questions. And when he's done reading, then we will go ahead and ask him the questions, and at the very end then we will have our classic drawing for a copy of one, both. What are we doing today?
I'd say I'm doing 2 ebooks, 1 of each.
2 ebooks, 1 of each. Okay, so we will be doing a drawing for two ebooks of the books that we're going to hear today, and then that would, after that, we'll see around to the end of the show. So with all of that said, I'm going to turn the camera over to you and put myself on mute. Here you go, sir.
Thank you. Okay, chapter 2 of Between the Forest and the Stars. Ooh. Yeah, now, F-word expletive, we're not going to say it right here. The angular fairy cursed from the back seat as the car jostled along the icy confines of Route 29. Explanation, road trip. Gaze, drama, kablama, road trip. His friends grimaced in the front seat. Seriously, you must aim for every patch of ice on this frozen deliverance leg of our little Tu Wong Fu road trip. The 2-hour ride had left him in a sharp mood. Although, if either of his compatriots, the honey brown-haired, blue-eyed mortal at the wheel and the mahogany-skinned, golden-eyed puka beside him, were consulted on the matter, it wasn't that far off from his usual prickly mood. Instead, they shared an amused eye roll. Johann, like usual, was the first to break the silence. You may recall that it was your idea to do this, Blow. The fairy merely glared from the back seat, his silvery eyes focused and unrelenting, the barest hint of a smile playing at his lips beneath the quelling look, the true tell of his mood. You truly make me relish agreeing to drive. You really do, Johann quipped over his shoulder, a laugh behind his words. Pfft, like you'd let anyone else drive the bus? Johann really couldn't argue, nodding at Bloodwood's petal-marked visage in the rearview mirror. Struth, but really, deliverance? It's rural, not abandoned backwoods desolation, sis. Bloodwood painfully stretched his tall, thin frame as far as the seatbelt and cramped back seat would allow. His short-cropped black hair bumped the SUV ceiling, as did the wispy, silvery horns that curly-cued from his forehead as he glared out at the wintry landscape blearily passing by. I'll take cramped cities and banal suburbia over this niffle-damned forested emptiness. Bloodoweth flinched from the window. With an uncharacteristic display of discomfort, of vulnerability, the tall fairy attempted to curl in on himself at the same moment the SUV bounced. Again. His brow neatly collided with the silver and sapphire ring on his long index finger. I swear to Cher, Procrustean ogres manage, he kvetched, the rest of it lost to incoherent mumbles, in what Johann guessed was some variant of gnomish as he clutched his forehead in exaggerated discomfort. Again, drama! His friends rolled their eyes at the display. Honestly, though, he gestured at the dark and wooded countryside about them. There's maybe, 12 teeth and 20 IQ points collectively in that house over there? On the right, on a shaggy promontory, a small house of timber and rough-cut stone loomed above the snowdrifts, alone and exposed from the trees before it was quickly lost in the claustrophobic scenery. Another equally antiquated house swiftly replaced it in their view before it too was lost in the wintry views between farmsteads and mansions. I'd gamble on 20 teeth at least, and maybe even 40 IQ points, Nomios chuckled, his golden eyes sparkling with mirth. I'm surprised this hasn't attracted a bevy of lesbians in Buffalo Plaid. I mean, it's every lumberjack's wet dream, Johann added, smiling at the broad expanse of woods and sturdy, cottagey homes that seemed to hover along the periphery of the valley ahead. Very Taylor Swift folklore. I'm okay with that. You can't be serious. There's woods, and then there's this, Blodoweth rejoined, flicking his black-nailed hand at the offending view and sitting petulantly back. Nomios bit his tongue, as he found himself doing a lot when alone with the pair, and quietly sipped at lukewarm coffee as he hunched in the passenger seat. He enjoyed the banter of his friends, a show of wit many paid a steep cover charge to bear witness to, but oftentimes it was simply best to just let it play out in exaggerated patter and snark, and not to take to heart Blodowed's bitchier remarks. Furrowing his porcelain brow at the worlds at large, a look of contempt mingled with wry resignation played on Blodowed's angular face as he tapped his nails along the cold window. He wouldn't admit it to anyone, save the two in the car, but it unnerved him. It was all so arboreal and dark. Trees, old and twisted, aggressively spread their twining branches over the roadway, trying to block out the winter's weak sunlight. Frosty peeling bark and sickly lichen danced up trunks, while creamy snow was interrupted by the browns and oranges of fallen leaves and bracken. The riven landscape of rocky riverbanks and craggy creeks, frozen beneath the rime, barreled beside the highway, half hidden by snow and shadow. Off-ramps and highway exits were almost invisible until you were on or past them. Well, it's just not that bad. Come on. Weren't there forests like this back in Faerie? Johanna smiled, catching Blodoweth's attention and narrowing his eyes, rolling headwards in the rearview mirror. Yes, the silvery Fae drawled. There are forests, ancient and monstrous, that stretch the breadth of continents, filled with trees you would need 2 days to walk around, but once. And there are swamps and marshes the size of oceans, and mountains that scratch at the dome of heaven that I tell you many tales of. But do I look like anyone who would visit them willingly? I mean, do I? Johann laughed, cautiously swerving to avoid yet another icy pothole as the puka snorted, almost choking on another mouthful of coffee. Girl, this is lopsided. What the? There we go. He couldn't disagree with Blodoweth's bluntness, either. The aloof Fae was singular and singularly urban. The distinct magic of a city seemed to define him. The thought of Blodoweth in the countryside was almost absurd. The image of him dancing in a flower crown and diaphanous homespun clothes around a maypole, let alone garbed as misnomer, it just simply didn't work. In fact, Johann mused to himself, he had trouble picturing Blodoweth comfortable outside of the sharp corners and architectural angles of a city. Perhaps their contrasting natures. Autumn-rich, rural-born mortal artist, summer's-kissed, far-flung son of storied Achaia, vengeance-burned, moon-cold silver-courtly Fae. This is why the three of them were friends. If you think this is bad, you should see the valleys and woodlands south of here, on the way to Farmville. Or gosh, Christiansburg, Johann added. They're downright inhospitable. A strange, strangled cry carried over the muffled, icy quiet of the road. And this isn't? Was that? Yeah, I didn't say that either out loud, because, I mean, it's on the page. You can read it. Blodoweth ducked, knocking his forehead against the back of Johann's seat. Nomios wholly failed to smother his laughter this time. Its infectious tenor danced across the ears of the drag queens behind and beside him. His dark curls and thick-set horns bounced in his amusement. That was just an owl, Blow. Unlike Blodoweth, the puka was equally at home in the neon-lit halls and underground of the crossroads, as he was dancing across a noonday field, piping a tune beside Hedgeman's River. And you wonder why I seldom leave the bar and almost never leave Carterburg? I'm a city fae, pure and simple. I always have been. Give me stone and brickwork piled high with pavement and cobblestone. The magic of starry nights seen through the cracks of skyline or broken windows. Rooftop gardens and underground bars and the high-toned wind song between it all. The rare, and let me stress this, rare, times I've involuntarily trekked across the countryside, I did my best to make sure everyone around me was as miserable as I was. If you have no comfort or interest in coming out here, then, Nomios turned in his seat, tickling the fabric of the vehicle ceiling with his horns before he ducked around the headdress. Why in all the names of the dead gods are we out here? Because, Bloodoweth grimaced. Circe requested it. Nomios abruptly turned back around, and, thick brows raised, held Johann's side eye, neither of them saying anything. Neither one was truly comfortable with the fact that the she-cat, court investigator, and ostensible eyes and ears to the High Queen of Faerie herself, and their friend were getting so chummy. The Seelie court had always held the Fae of Carterburg at arm's length. Not tender close, but within an amiable-ish reach. Neither embracing them for their choice to leave Faerie itself through the veils, and it had estranged many, many from the court itself. Although, if memory served the Puka, and let's be honest, his was a very long memory, there had been a time when Her Royal Highness Mav threatened official exile to those court who'd chosen to brave the lands of man. Of course, problems like the phosphorescent made the coexistence of Faerie and mortal all the tougher. Often they had drawn the Fae district of Carterburg to the notice of Her Majesty and the unflinching attention of her detective. The tenuous and, in Nomios' mind, alarmingly neutral relationship their newborn court of blood and glitter held with the Seelie Queen and her court hadn't been always so convivial. Nomios could name a dozen occasions in the last decade that Circe or her associates had investigated the crossroads and its proprietrix for their goings-on. And yet, the last 5 weeks had seen a budding alliance. Whoops, I thought I said 2 weeks. It was 5. Whoops. And yet, the last 5 weeks had seen a budding alliance, nay, even perhaps a real friendship, growing between the Ian Enchantress and their newly minted queen. Spoiler alert! It was over coffee and chocolate scones in my office last night, Bloodoweth murmured, glaring out the window at the offending trees. Neither of his friends said a word, waiting for him to reveal what and how he would. Apparently, Circe thinks that we, the Court of Blood and Glitter, and specifically its queen, Ms. Nomer, are the ones best suited to handle the situation out here. He flicked an impatient nail off in the general direction of the outness. And why is that? Well, the thought trailed off as Bloodoweth began to frame the conversation, tapping his fingers along the base of the window. And that's where I'll leave you on that one, because to tell you the situation, I've already told you too much. Okay, so that's the teaser for Between the Forest and the Stars. A lovely one. If you notice on the cover there, that is a cat owl, because really, not going to pretend, one of the main impetuses with it was I wanted to include cat owls, because they're just friggin' cool. Next we have a slightly thicker, because there's a bit of a difference, the As My World Falls Down. Yes, it's an homage, title-wise, to a certain song, sung by a certain legendary king of goblins. Not naming names, but like Knossos, there may have been a labyrinth involved. So, As My World Falls Down is the one, it's not a road trip, they're solving a case set at the Smithsonian. We're going to go back to everybody's favorite character, the one that I get asked more and more and more questions about. Circe. The Circe. That Circe. Yes, she'll tell you all about herself because she loves to talk about herself. Except she likes to tell you stories in the sideways because she's got an ego like any good fairy. But of course, she's a lady. Chapter 3. Private, cat's eyes only. Official court investigator case file. Supplemental. February the 3rd. Taliesin dropped by last night when Tam and I were having dinner. Our usual when not out sleuthing Tuesday night affair of sushi, wine, and vintage Hollywood films. I still can't believe Tam's never seen Bringing Up Baby. And Taliesin requested help on a case. One that was near to the Queen's heart and on the extreme QT. goody. Bloody. Could've just... There. This bugging me. I know it's... Eh. With a grim look, he handed me a small folder and left. After reading his sparse notes, seriously, the man is a bard for the Norn's sake. You'd think he'd be able to expound at least a bit on a sensitive report, but no! We eschewed the film, damn it, and turned in for the night, deciding to start our investigation bright and early this morning. Something tells me, after where this morning has led us, well across Carterburg's well-heeled residences, venerable museum, and back again, that this is the type of case that always leaves me with wrinkled whiskers and wasps stinging at my thoughts. Oh, goody-goody gumdrop. End file. As always, the tableau that greets me upon my entrance to the crossroads is different in a dozen little ways. With the coat check room and the bouncer station remain in their constant spots, the carpet in this section of the rooms is a deep hazel tonight. It's been a lovely heather violet all of last week, and while the wood that encircles the far wall is still a light pine, the seats upholstery are suddenly the color of a stormy sea at dawn. The mirrors behind the bar have a golden mercury look to them tonight, and the candles and will-o'-the-wisps which dance around are iridescent shades of sea foam in ocean depths. Thankfully, the inviting smell of the large coffee machine is quite the same. Circe, as a heads up, Circe's a coffee fiend. Sidling up to the bar, I look up to my favorite bartender. The Dryad Oriel is easy enough to spy. Her height and manner alone make her stand out. Something about the gray-green bark skin is kind of a dead giveaway, and I paw her over. Evening, Oriel. Is Ms. Nomer in tonight? She is, although she's about to go on. You could probably catch her near her offices if you rush. Thanks, I smile and then decide, turning back before leaving. Would I be able to have some of that wonderful boss-only brew? Private brew, please? She laughs, and suddenly I'm back on Aiaya, the roar of the sea and soft kisses of sunlight through myrtle and pine as nymphs and necks dance about me. She said that you had free access to it. I'll have one of the hobs bring some by her office here in a few. Oh, sweet charities, that is a blessing. Wending my way through towards the far back corridors reserved for staff and performers, I make my way to the sturdy door that marks Bloodweth, Miss Nomer's private offices. Before I've even rapped on the smooth surface, the door swings open and I see the queen. You know, literally, since she's now the queen of Blood and Glitter. Spoilers! As she adjusts her costume before a glamored mirror made from rippling water. It shines with frosty moonlight about its edges. Welcome, Enchantress. Come in. And while I may adopt the feminine shape I was born into when needs be, I prefer the sleek and gingerford form of a she-cat. The feminine otherness that Bloodweth employs is miles above me. The art of drag, let alone the magic and glamoured drag of Nomer and company, is one that he employs to such an impeccable degree that I'm momentarily gobsmacked, and just watch her smooth hair, tuck fabric, and adjust pins. Oh, I'm sorry that I've but a moment before I'm due on stage. Please, sit. It's not that long a number, maybe 6 or 7 minutes. I'll return as swift as I may. Thank you, I smile as I drop onto one of the lovely leather armchairs in a semicircle before the great desk. If I may, when you return, would you bring folk with you? Her brow manages to arch even higher, which is astonishing considering the brow is painted almost beside her hairline, before she nods, a ghost of a smile beneath the lip tar and glamour, and exits the room in sparks of jet and silver, the mirror disappearing in smoke and glitter beside me. Magic. I haven't done more than pull out my tablet, the case file's already opened, before Oriel appears in the doorway with a tray of china cups and saucers, delicious chocolate and hazelnut biscuit, and a small pot with tea and the heavenly aroma of coffee beside it. Oh, thought I'd deliver it in person, but sadly I can't stay and chat. For some reason, she's taken to calling me the French cat. It's weird, but cool. I think I actually kind of like it. There's a thirsty hen party, a bunch of bridesmaids and a bridezilla, in the private rooms, and my expertise is needed at calming them down. She disappears in a breeze of leafy hair and mossy perfume, and I am suddenly left on my own to wait for the return of the club's proprietress. Thankfully, there's coffee. She shifts back from cat form into human form. Oh, sorry about that, Enchantress. Ms. Nomer saunters into the room, her hand buried in the mass of black wigs atop her head, pinning the dew back up into a semblance of order. Which leaves me wondering just what in the 9 realms she did to unsettle that mass of wigs and pins. Behind her, a tray of cucumber sandwiches in hand, is Nomios Fook. Nothing to apologize for. After all, I'm the one showing up unannounced. I smile as she sits behind her desk, delicately taking the china and pouring herself a steaming cup of coffee. Each time the carafe releases its steam, a new wave of heady aroma washes over the room. Oh, bugger, it's bloody intoxicating. Sandwich blow? You know, I just might. Her tone is warm, for her, and indulgent as she takes one of the preferred nibbles from Fook as he sits. From what I've gathered, I could count on one paw the number of folk who've seen the lithe queen eat more than sparingly. And that includes the dinner from last winter at Ravensclear Manor, where she mostly pushed food about on her plate before biting 2 buttery asparagus tips. She must catch sight of my own quirked brow as she smiles mid-bite and swallows. No lipstick smudge on her teeth. I wish I could. Before laughing. I don't often eat in drag. It lowers your street value. I can't help but snort at this sage advice, nearly spilling my precious coffee, unsure if it's the sentiment or merely her delivery that I find so damn funny. Dance, magic, dance, refuel. She smiles ruefully as she rubs the back of her neck with one hand, the last bite of sandwich in the other. On show nights, it feels as if that's all I do. As if well, as I'm sure you're familiar with, trying to keep up one's energy while expending so much of glamour is. She waves her black lacquered and beglittered nails about as she swallows the last bite. Beep, turn the page. It's no mean feat, I finish for her. In fact, would you pass me one of those delightful biscuits? They're a special recipe, Fook smiles around a mouthful of cucumber sandwich, pulling the tray across the desk towards her before turning back to me. Wendy, a Highland brownie of considerable skill, and our head baker. She's been baking them since at least the turn of the 17th century. Believe it or not. She swears, at this Fook lowers his voice to a stage whisper, that apple and acorn flour instead of wheat. That's the secret. I file this tidbit away, in the back of my mind, somewhere behind, underneath delicious treats to suggest to lavender, for my next visit to On a Whim. It's a house in the first book. Characters. Throwbacks. She still made the best coffee I've tasted outside of Nomer's private blend in centuries. And I am about to comment such when, after a light treble knock, the door swings open to admit Tam Lin, looking both handsome and harrowed as he saunters in. Finally, I was starting to wonder if you'd gotten lost. I smile and pass him a cup and saucer as he sits, the supple leather of the armchair squeaking as he shifts his lanky frame. This is Nomer's special private brew. And bloody delicious. I incline my head in our hostess's direction, dunking another chocolate and hazelnut biscuit into the steaming cup as I do so. Thank you, Enchantress. Nomer smiles from behind the desk, tight, but genuinely, as she half closes her eyes, dipping her forehead slightly forward. I sense, less than I see, that behind us, all along the door and its wall, faint sigils in glittering black and smoky violet and shimmering silver dance, resealing the room's wards. When she's finished, she leans against the desk, ever so slightly, resting her hands against a large teak box before, finally, opening her silvery eyes to resume our conversation. To what do I owe this visit, as I doubt it merely a social call? Delightful as that would be for both of us. Sadly, were it so, we both would have a far, far kinder time. I sigh as I set the cup and saucer back on an empty side table at hand. Sadly, trouble has come to both our doorsteps. No one in the room, least of Nomer, is surprised by my pronouncement. 5 nights ago, I begin, the Carterburg Area Cultural History Museum was broken into by magical means, and the Lares of royal employ, working within the confines of the museum and the city's records offices, was attacked. His confidential papers were stolen, and he's been unconscious for the last few days. I pause and take another sip of the oh-so-delightful coffee. Last night at 11:38 p.m., a bogle and 2 menacing hobs broke into the Janet Annenberg Hooker Hall of Geology, gems, and minerals with the Smithsonian National Institution. Say that 42 times fast, I bless you. They killed 2 guards, critically injured a third, and made off with a necklace valued at over 11 million pounds, or roughly $13 million. Which, while ridiculously luxe to most of us, is far less than the Hooker Emeralds, Whitney Flame Topaz, or Hope Diamond are worth, and they were all right there. I see how this would be distressing. Nomer, cagey, sips at her coffee and holds my gaze level with hers. Blessed Kibble, those silver eyes are daunting when they focus on you like that. While a fey crime here, or up in D.C. is no nevermind to this court, I stress her role to show my hand at the gravity. The incidents seem to be connected with one another and, in turn, connected with Carterburg's history. I feel Tam tense beside me as I continue. Aside from the Lare's stolen papers and injury, the only damage at the scene was to one of the paintings in the records hall. A portrait of Lord and Lady Stuart, specifically great claw marks rent through the canvas at Lucy Stuart's neck. I watch and notice Nomer and Fook both flinch at the woman's name. What was stolen from the Smithsonian? Fook's dark brow is raised in what almost looks like trepidatious concern. His voice is nowhere near its usual melodious timbre. The London Stuart egg, a gorgeous white gold necklace of intricately cut diamonds and white sapphires laced around a large oval-cut diamond. I can't be sure. Tam has a better view from where he's sitting between us. I'll have to ask him later, but I think that Fook just clutched at Nomer's hand as I described the gem. The necklace, which, incidentally, is the selfsame one whose image was slashed in the attack here at the museum, was donated by Lady Stuart in 1928, bequeathed to the Smithsonian in her last months. Her last public outing was its debut, and for months afterwards rumors flew about Washington that the gem was fairy cursed, as is often the case, or fairy blessed just as equally. From what Her Royal Highness Mav and Taliesin have said, which is not at all what needs to be by a long shot, let's be honest, the gem was not gifted to Lucy at the end of her service to the crown, and neither of them know its true provenance. I suspect, and you can call it feline intuition, that wherever this diamond came from, it wasn't an African or Indian blood diamond. I set my lamentably empty cup back down and smile broadly while I pour more. Watching them both as I do, I get ready to play my card. This burgeoning friendship between us, this camaraderie between the Sealy Court and the Court of Blood and Glitter, is to make any headway. I have to be as forthright as possible. I came because I needed your help. And that, dear friends, is where we'll end that part. Hopefully, you laughed a little. You snickered. You snickered a little bit. Right
there. There was definitely laughing and snickering on my part. That is for certain. So, yeah, we do have some comments and questions out here, right? Yay. So let me find these and pull them back up because they kind of scroll on. You know how it works, right?
Scroll on. Keep scrolling till the scroll comes true. Yeah, I'm not a singer.
Scrolling on a river. Scrolling.
Lord. I'm not wearing full costuming under here. Don't make me stand up and try to dance. I'm in sweatpants, okay? No heels, no nothing. Just sweatpants.
That's all right. Me too.
Okay, but you look friggin' gorgeous.
No, you do.
We both do.
Okay, we'll congratulate ourselves. Let's see. Okay, I have a couple of questions myself, and then there's some in the audience. But I kind of want to know about this gem that is in the last book, because you mentioned the way you're talking about it makes it sound like there might actually be some kind of real world lore that is, lore, legend, superstition attached to it. Will you tell us about that, or is it a spoiler?
I will confess that it is totally made up. It is not a real gem. However, I pulled from the histories of the Hope Diamond. I
Oh yeah,
pulled
okay.
from multiple ones of the British Royal Crown. The true spoil. There's a bit of a spoiler to it but I named it the London Stuart Egg because it's the Stuart family who appear kind of as a problem in the first book. And so here in the third, yep, something that gorgeous, the gorgeousness. She sparkles, she's big. She was inspired by I'll admit, Lord of the Rings nerd here, the Nauglamir, the Necklace of the Dwarves, where it's holding a Silmaril at the center, just gorgeous, 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 luxe, everything. So I wanted to do something like that, but nothing that I saw doing research, because I'm a nerd like that, quite fit. So I just took a bunch of really good true ones, and then I formed them loosely around, inspired by, because that would be copyright infringement. We're never going to do that. Say, obviously, I like He-Man and She-Ra. The pilot episode of He-Man is called The Diamond Ray of Disappearance. The concept of a big diamond that makes people disappear was just too appealing. It was just too appealing. So instead of the Diamond Ray, it's the London Stuart Egg with its fairy curse that will drag and curse and hurt and make people die and suffer. Because, who doesn't love that?
Right?
Right?
Everybody loves a little torture. So let's see. Okay, we have, are any of your characters based on someone you know of? And if so, do they know it?
Oh, yeah. My dear husband is the not so loose inspiration for Johann. His name is John. I mean, I don't know how I got that name. Don't know how I got that name.
I'm Johann, John. They're barely alike.
Totally different. Absolutely nowhere related to each other. But Johann, the Lady Ophelia, is not so loosely based on my husband. He knows it. He has actually helped make quite a few of her quips far sharper and smarter than I was doing. I have never known anybody who has such scathingly perfect, well-timed wit like he does. He blows me out of the water. Anytime I think I'm being funny, he just comes in with the perfect line, and I'm just like, just rigor mortis.
That is good though, because it adds the depth, right?
Oh,
yeah. And a little bit of, I can't believe that is balancing on your head. I'll be honest.
Oh,
you're just
there's a reason why you don't see ears. There's a reason you don't see ears. It is strapped.
So on the character note, have you ever written any of your enemies into your books just so you can?
Yep. Didn't even give her a line. She was the dead body. The dead body at Ravensclair that actually draws Circe's case in the part 3 of Queen of Blood and Glitter, called Velvet Slippers Worn Through Night. They are there to investigate the murder of a drag queen. They don't know how she died. They just, there's a drag queen. Her velvet slippers are worn through. She must have danced all night.
Oops.
She did. I may have named her an inspiration for somebody I don't like. I mean, if she were literate, I'd worry about her reading it.
Oh dear. Whew. Zing.
The gays, we're not nice. We're nice, but we're not nice. I've done that let's see, Between the Forest and the Stars, Between the Forest and the Stars, one of the people that I kill off pretty quickly is also loosely inspired by somebody I don't like, and he gets maybe 2 lines, maybe. Yeah, there's a lot of people that just kill. I mean, I don't know where
is it cathartic for you?
Absolutely. The blood. I mean, I didn't murder anybody. I'm not listening to a true crime podcast, getting inspiration. There may be stuff queued up.
You're not trying to write for an episode of Dexter.
No. I mean, I just there's some blood. There's just some blood. It's okay. I didn't get it on me.
So, and then we have as a follow-up, like a follow-up to the follow-up, on that note, do you have a character in your book that you love to hate?
Absolutely.
Which one is it?
In the first book, there's a couple. One of them is a spoiler.
Okay.
If I name the name, it's a spoiler. But in the end, the last part of Queen of Blood and Glitter, the chunk called A Queen of Blood and Glitter, there is a character introduced called Nugia. And I originally inserted the character based on somebody I disliked and intended quick death. Just kill them off. And then I actually really enjoyed writing how horrible that person was. Oh, I hated him.
Wow.
I loved writing him because he's dick. He literally
Woohoo!
opens with an Alaska Thunder Fun 5000. Her song's called Your Makeup is Terrible. And so he literally walks into the drag prep room and goes, your makeup is terrible. And he means it. Like, he is genuinely trying to rip the Lady Ophelia a new one. And he's an ass. Yes. And actually, the villain-ish, the main villain, I guess you would call, in part one, the Tam Lin retelling, the one that helps kidnap the boyfriend, he was fun to write. He was a dick. There's fun. Oh, Cocky King Neckbeard. I enjoyed writing Cocky King Neckbeard.
That was a character's name?
Yeah.
Or that's what...
The part is called Cocky King Neckbeard. It's, you know the Grimm fairy story, King Thrushbeard?
No, I do not.
Okay. In King Thrushbeard, the princess is a very willful girl and says, no, I won't marry just any old man. I want to marry somebody I choose. You know, like somebody smart, God forbid. And so she's punished by the next king that she insults. She calls him a Thrushbeard because his beard is so thrushy. Beard like a marsh.
Well,
like,
thrushes are a bird that live in bushes, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
So if his beard is big and bushy, then it, you know.
So she insulted him, and so God forbid a woman want to have agency. So I was like, okay, so let's twist that story. What if the one who actually is is a jerk? Make the guy a jerk. So put Ms. Nomer in the situation as the princess, so to say. It's dark, it's twisted, it's a little dark. It's a little messery. There's some messery in there. But yeah, writing for him, he has a real name. I don't care. His name to me is... every time I write a note that I'm going to put him in a seat, it's CKB, Cocky King Beard.
I feel like that has to be a name for somebody someday.
I mean...
I like that one.
Not a verse.
So we have... Oh, this is just nice. Erwina, thank you so much. She says, I love how he tells us about references from the first book, since most of us have never heard the story, and I'll be getting a new book soon. Enjoying.
That's it.
So thank you,
Amazon
Erwina.
actually has it on sale.
Ooh, Amazon has it on sale.
Yeah, I think it's less than 15 right now.
Very nice. That's for must be for a physical
That's
copy.
The big one. That's the big one.
Nice.
That's the big one.
Let's see here. What inspires you to maintain and explain your book's world?
That would be, I am a freaking nerd. Like, straight up. I am a big old nerd. My mother is a Latin teacher. I was raised filled with folklore, filled with foreign languages. I remember being probably about 5 and going to a local toy store and picking up a copy of the Metropolitan Museum's Guide to Hieroglyphics and learning their very simplistic version of how to read and write in ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, which may have been an inspiration in this book.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, your mother is a Latin teacher. Do you ever have fun just putting Latin terms in there so you can be pretentious at people?
I would never say I'm pretentious. I would just say, girl. I mean, admittedly, trying to work with, because there's a reason why the glossaries on some of the sections are humongous.
Oh, you actually put glossaries?
Yes. There's Attic Greek in the back, because they use Attic Greek, ancient Greek, classical Latin, not modern church Latin, Welsh. Generally lean towards 6th to 12th century Welsh, Old English, High German, some Norse. So I'm just like, holy, because I love playing with languages. I love the idea that the concept is fairies are real, obviously, and they're not just real. All of the myths and folklore. There's a hair in my mouth. Wigs. Am I right?
Well, or cats, because aren't you a cat person, if I recall?
Yes, there's one sitting and staring at me from the chair across, and the other one is staring at the bedroom door.
Once fur leaves their body, it's invisible until it touches black clothing again.
99% of my clothes is black. But yeah, so all of the myths, all of the folklore that we know is all true to some degree. So like fairies that we know of, like the High Queen, Mav Ainesadora Mav Graine, Queen of the Sealy, Queen of the Athena she is actually a Macedonian Greek woman. She's many thousands of years old. So she has very Greek roots.
It's really pronounced Macedonian, not Macedonian?
Modern is Macedonian, Attic. So anything about 3rd century BCE, CE is because ancient Greeks Cretans did not use anything. The soft C was a foreign concept to them. They're like, wait, what? Girl, what? So,
interesting. That is very cool. I've learned something. Yeah, I like it. That's good.
It's like technically Circe should be pronounced Kirke, which means multiple derivations, different arguments is that it's Kirke, hooped, encircled by magic. I'm like, I made her slightly British, and so she have a British pronunciation. So she is Circe. Circe looks like, in my head, Alex Kingston, River Song from Doctor Who.
Oh yeah. Okay.
That is who I picture when I picture Circe. That's who she is. She's got that accent. She's got everything, which is why she's always after. She's got to have a biscuit. She's got to have a biscuit with the tea or with her coffee. She's got to dunk the biscuit. Have it good. Do.
This would be your dream cast if your books were to be cast as films or shows.
Oh yes, from my lips to Alex Kingston's. Oh no, she's just gonna throw it on the rubbish pile because she is not interested.
Oh, hey.
I can.
No, words have power. Say what you want.
Alex Kingston.
That's right. Calling through the YouTube and interwebs.
Interwebs, make it happen.
Funny enough, yeah, right. Make it happen, interwebs. Let's see. Have you ever considered expanding your books into another media, like script writing for a YouTube series? And I'm just not gonna say the last part.
Girl, nothing wrong with that. Praise yourself. Give yourself credit. You deserve it. I'd say honestly, I would. I mean, if one of the first things I wrote in college that I did not have any hatred for, because in college you're all like, oh my god, this is the greatest thing ever. You look back on it and you're like, what was I smoking, drinking, or doing?
or all of them, all of the above together. You're not supposed to go back and look at your old work like that.
But the first one that I actually really liked was a retelling of the Metamorphoses by Ovid, but inspired by and homaging and obviously ripping off Wicked, and making the central.
Wicked is great,
right? Wicked is girl. I will preach you to the choir, house down boots on Wicked. Love. But the first thing I ever wrote that I actually really liked was a script, Metamor, focusing on AMOR, because pun! Metamorphoses, talking about how choosing several of the themes of Ovid and how love screws everybody over. I was a little bitter. It was my 20s. I had really bad boyfriends.
Oh.
I was very bitter about boyfriends at the time. But Apollo and Adonis, Apollo and Hyacinth and Hercules. He was pretty. Everybody wanted him. And Venus wanted him. So I was doing it like mixing the stories, and the Sphinx and Medusa, Medi, were the stars,
Mm-hmm.
the different girls. Oh, they're different. Nobody understands them. They were fun. So yes. Long story short, yes. Actually, if given the skill and the time, yeah, I would.
That would be fun to see. I would watch that.
I mean, well, I don't even remember now because on the spot there was this really there's this really awesome makeup artist on YouTube that I follow, and he does all those Loki and really high fairy couture, like
Mm.
really good makeup. And I was like, wait, am I wrong? Is Ms. Nomer actually a redhead? Because he has that perfect mix of androgyny. His cheekbones could cut glass. I am a little jealous. I have put on so much quarantine weight. It is ridiculous. I had to undo this corset as soon as I put it on. It's no.
You and everybody, honey.
Like this was the vest on top was when we did shows, back in the pre-days. And I was like, oh, I'm so skinny. Oh, I'm so fat. Oh. Now I'm like, let's just untie. No, keep untying. No. Just loosely button it. Just loosely let it sit.
So I have a question. Before we get to the last part where we do the drawing for the 2 ebooks today, this is the part where you guys, if you're watching and you want to be entered into the drawing, please put your name into the comments now, and I will add them to the Wheel of Win as I see them come through here. And while we are waiting, giving people a chance to put their names into the comments, I have a couple of things that one stood out at me that I'm just sort of curious about. Let me grab my name banner just and click that up really quick. Now is the time to put your name. You mentioned in one of the, I don't remember if it was the second one or the third one. I think it was the third one, how the mirrors had a golden mercury look to them this evening. Is that, and it made me think suddenly, which I had never really, I guess, thought much on before, but it made me think of the way antique mirrors look when they're on old furniture, like you see in antique stores, how they kind of look weird and crackly. Is that actually how they used to make mirrors be mirrors, was with a mercury backing of some sort?
The idea was that you took as good a piece of glass as you could, and then against a very thin, you painted on a thin veneer of mercury. It would create the lovely patina. It would give you that full reflective nature. But of course, longer mercury's on there, it's going to start crackle and fade.
Right.
And that's why we have those gorgeous mercury, those little tchotchke things now. The worst one is, of course, for a long time, solid, the invention of modern glass, you had to rely on just beaten tin. So like when we talk about like Cleopatra or Helen,
copper, didn't they use hammered copper as well? Maybe like ancient,
that was the good shit.
Egyptian. I don't know.
That was the good shit. You could also use a really lovely palette would have the beaten copper or the beaten tin, and then you'd have that over inlaid like on ivory, just to give you that zhuzh, that feminine zhuzh. Give yourself the illusion.
I find that interesting anyway. And then there was one other question. Okay, I had a couple other questions. I'm all curious about everything. Like, okay, what is the most interesting piece of lore that you have come across in your research for your characters and types of fae and everything? What is, or that you personally find the most interesting?
The inconsistencies. The massive inconsistencies, because you can, like, when we give names to things, they're always different, and that makes me so thrilled, because that means you can play with them. Folklore, especially Greeks, as we know, Greeks don't really have the true monolithic text. There was no written down verbiage on it. It was, you told the story, I told the story, he told the story, but he told it what I heard. And because I knew that audience liked big hair, I told more about that hair. So the inconsistencies allowed you to imagine more. You can really bring more to your own side to it. And of course, being
Right.
a narcissistic pain in the butt that I am, like, I could work with that.
I believe you could probably work with anything, sir. You are very creative.
Thank you.
And then I'm just curious, in this
Yeah.
last one, I think is in this last one as well, you were talking about a okay, did you say the word bogle? Is that what you said? Like a bogle had broken into the Smithsonian?
Yep.
I was like, "Whoa, that's the best." They're out there, the burgling bogle.
I'd say, spoiler alert, she's a in the courtly fae, bogles are any of the nasty jerk wads. She is technically a bogle. Her name is Anupet. In Egyptian mythology, Anupet is the wife of Anubis. She is
Okay.
not really talked too much about because, why talk about anybody, right? Oh, we got that one guy. But she is a jackal-headed goddess, deified. She at one point she was part of a holy trinity.
Okay.
So it was Anubis, her, and Ra. Each different town, it's the inconsistencies. This town had them all deified and centered. This town's like meh, meh, meh. So she, in her case, I just pictured a skull-headed, gorgeous woman, but skull-headed.
Skull-headed.
Oh yeah, let's say skullduggery, but not Diggory Kirk.
And how is it that you do kingdoms and courts in your realm? Are they divided up? How are they divided up?
Okay, so the core basic is Mav is the High Queen of all Faerie. All Fae owe technically allegiance to her. However, back in the birth of the Fae, spoiler alert, there's more. She hasn't told everybody everything. What? A queen not telling everybody everything?
What a shocker.
I know. So when she and her twin brother, Dragul Kronos, when they created the two original courts, the Androphagoi, the people of the drinkers of man's blood, ancient Greek, and then the Androdoroi, the people of the gift. And so the people of the gift, the Androdoroi, became the Seelie, and the Androphagoi became the Unseelie. And so while the Unseelie technically owe allegiance to her because, she kicked her brother's butt at the end of the day, she is still, the kingdoms underneath her all have their own little hegemonies. And
Right.
about the 15th century, 16th century, she completely separated Faerie from Earth. Any Fae that are left on Midgard are screwed or criminals. And so she has the entire vast, unlimited area of Faerie under her domain, and each of the queendoms and kingdoms all owe allegiance to her, but some of them don't play fair.
And okay, I promise. Last one before we spin is, can we appear in the books?
I mean, I'd have to know people to write about them, but I have written some of the characters that are intended for volume 4, which is going to be another of the big books. So volumes 1, 4, and 7. Yeah, 7 planned. 1, 4, and 7 are going to be the giant novels, so like a Queen of Blood and Glitter size. And then 2, 3, and 5, 6 are more novella size. They're smaller adventures. So like the plan is for after the next big one are two short novella collections, one centered on the drag queens, the fairies of the material girls, misnomers people. And then the next the other one is going to be all about Circe adventures. And I actually just did a Krampus in July event where the gift that I gave, because I'm a giver, was a short story, a brand new short story centered on Circe investigating a Krampus case in 1904. So it's 100 years before all of the shit that's going on now. So there's no misnomer attached to her. It's just her doing her own thing in the, technically, that's what, early Edwardian era, post Victorian, early Edwardian, I guess. And so she's having to go through Alsace-Lorraine hunting the Krampus. And so I'm like, well, that's going to go in a Circe collection.
So yeah, I'm like, oh, maybe how do I buy my way into your books? Is there gonna be a Kickstarter? I don't know.
I
Okay,
mean,
are
I'm not afraid for my.
right?
I got bills.
So I know right? Don't we all?
I got bills to pay. Trademark infringement.
Yep.
Let's not
Speaking
do
of
that.
which, everybody. Okay, so we are going to get our drawing done here. Speaking of those bills, there it is. Your information now in the ticker, and I'm going to spin. I see no more names in our comments, so this is for a copy of the second and third books. Congratulations, Cerulean! You are the winner! Yay! And these are 2 ebooks, which is good because I believe Cerulean is in England. So that
That's good
helps
because
with the shipping.
yes.
Yeah, shipping. So, but that is awesome. And I thank you so much for actually being a subscriber on our YouTube channel. So, with all of that said, is there anything that you would like to say? What? No, you're supposed to say congratulations, Gunther. Be nice. Come on.
Stay nice. However, I mean, you can track me down on social media and try to ask questions. I have no. I mean, I am forgetful. Shiny.
I know
What?
you have so many shinies back there. Actually, I want to look at all of them. So,
child. It was a debate on which corner to house in front of today because I'm like, well, I mean, that wall over there has a lot of crap. That one, that's a 9-foot by 9-foot toy wall, and I have problems. I have a lot of problems.
no, you don't. Because if you were to see behind this beautiful wall that I have, you would see that we're not so different when it comes to collections like that. So I have all my little. I open mine though because I'm just. Yeah, I open mine because I'm like, you know what? I bought them for me to enjoy, not to just resell them later. Whoa, these are cool. Wait, slower. So, yep, camera's got to have time to focus on these guys. Oh, I love it. I really want to get it's Ludo, right? And I have that same exact tiny little worm guy. I have him. I want that dragon that's down there. I actually
that was a
dragon.
failed Christmas gift.
What? It looks. Why was
no,
it
I mean,
failed?
like I bought him for somebody else, and then I kept him.
Oh, and then you kept it. You're like, I know his head is so big and cute.
Like, if he'd been the creepy snake-eyed one, you know, where it's like, I'd be like, okay, I don't want that. I don't need that in my life. But
our squire, our little Squire Lauer, he actually has that in his bedroom, and I saw it when I was visiting them, I don't know, a couple months ago, and I thought, oh man, surely in the Bay of E, there will be somebody that is, you know, trying to resell one of those. I can find it. And I did, and it was like $100.
So. Child, there's one back here that we're missing, and we're like, okay, how bad can it be? Oh, that's $236. I'm good. I'm good.
Like, I'll have to save for a minute, but I can. Yes. So, with all of that, is there anything else that you would like to say to everybody before we let you go this afternoon?
Well, thank you. Seriously, thank you for showing up. Thank you for reading. Thank you for listening to me talk, because I do that a lot.
But you look fabulous doing it.
I'd say, well, I have a lovely visage to talk to. You are gorgeous inside and out. I'd say, it's true. You're nothing but sweetness.
Hey, what are you doing inside my rib cage?
No, I'm very glad that you enjoy having me. You had me come back. You didn't say, "Oh God, hell."
No, you're awesome. You've been one of my favorite authors to interview because you go all out, and I love that, and I think our audience loves that as well. I mean, we're all kind of geeky, fabulous culture here, so you're in good company.
I'll admit though, I wish that I had thought ahead of time so I could put on the full fabulousness, so I could just do the stand up and do the Miss Vanjie walk out with the full outfit. Be going, yeah. But then I realized, even with a double layer of vests, even with it, there's no hiding the poundage that happened was. I mean,
Well, and we're getting ready to be back into that, era where that. So I don't know, masks and things and stuff. So
we are. I totally slipped. I mean, there's obviously a lot of stuff on my mind. We're actually hosting the troll market again.
Oh, tell me about that really quick before.
And say may have been inspired by our love of Hellboy, because you do Hellboy and the Golden Army, the cute little version of it. So to celebrate the weird and the quirky and the artsy and the fartsy and the fairy and all the coolness of that, my husband and I created the troll market. And so this is our Fredericksburg troll market. This is the 455th year, the second above ground. And so this is our second time doing it. We're hoping that we don't flub it up, but masked up, wigged up, costumed up, that's only in 2 months away.
Yeah, when and where?
October 2nd. It'll be Fredericksburg, Virginia. It is a free for anybody who's in the area. Well, it's free, period. But anybody who's in the area, it's in the area that's actually the inspiration for Target. It's in the downtown square that is attached to Ms. Nomer's home, if she were real.
Nice. Well, I am going to go ahead and wrap it up. Hang around for a second. There at the end, don't log off quite yet, and we will go ahead and say thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. Congratulations, Cerulean, on winning. Please hit the like and subscribe button, you guys. And as always, if you buy books, please leave that author review on the Amazons, because it is very helpful to the Gunther wants to know if you're selling trolls. Are you selling trolls?
We have ethically sourced troll tales.
Ethically sourced troll tales.
Apparently, the North American troll, when frightened, just drops his tail like a gink, like a gecko.
Like a gecko, runs away.
Oh gosh, humans! Tail drop.
So speaking of weird troll stories, there is a strange Scandinavian troll giantess lady called Slottentot, which means saggy breasts. And when she runs, in order to run faster, she throws them over her shoulder.
I approve. My girl's got to lift too. Trust. I love it.
So that's
folklore is the best.
I'm just like, well, there's a visual for you. So, all right.
Lift the nose, lift the tits.
Right. Good night, everybody. Happy Friday and a happy weekend to you all. Oh, I wanted to say also one last thing. We normally have our Hedge Discord game on Saturday, the third Saturday. Tomorrow, however, we do have alternate plans, so we are going to just have it on Sunday instead at 4 p.m. So if you want to get in on the LARP, 4 p.m., the links for finding us on Discord are in the low bar everywhere that you're watching from, I think, except Twitch, because Twitch is a hater. So other than that, goodbye, everybody. Happy Friday.
Hello, friends. This is Gunther Hammerhands. Thank you for checking out Fairy Princess Lolly's channel. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe button. Use your troll hammer to ring that little bell icon to get notifications when she posts future videos. And if you'd like to support these magical creations, fly over to our Patreon and join the Fairy family. Safe travels.